Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts and welcome to National Scrapbook Day weekend. Today's layout, I'm going to be using the Streets of Dream kit from Kellybell Designs. I also pulled out this sketch here from Scrapbook Generation. It is their sketch support number 25. I am so excited to be documenting this particular layout. And I don't think that I would have thought to document it had it not been for this kit. I did want to show you guys that I decided to print out a blank sheet of paper with the registration marks, and I just labeled the bottom of them. I'm going to show you what I do with that in just a moment. I love being a Disney adult, and that means that I have some useless knowledge about Disney that I want to scrapbook. And that's kind of what this layout is about. While I do not consider it useless, when I do talk to other people about it, they're like, okay, that's a little too much for me. This layout is going to be about the windows on Main Street. If you are walking down Main Street, most people are going to be looking at the castle because that definitely is a main focal point. But I would encourage you guys the next time you walk down Main Street to look upwards, because the second story windows on all of the buildings have lots of meaning. Walt was so particular about everything that even the signs on the windows have meanings. This particular collection is actually the collection from the 2023 National Scrapbook Day grab bag. It has all of the buildings that are on Main Street, and I knew that it was perfect to document these windows on Main Street. So I cut out several of the different buildings from the collection, and I also did pull in 2 trees, which I only end up using one of them, from the Bayou Adventure, because I'm going to create a scene on my layout. I knew that I wanted to have a little bit of dimension, and that's why I cut out the images multiple times. I actually ended up cutting all of the images out 3 times. What I'm going to do is when I add these buildings down, some of them are going to be laid flat to the layout with just 1 layer. Some of them will have 2 layers, some will have 3, and some of them I will actually use fun foam on. So this will give me lots of dimension on my layout, not just from the fun foam or even the 1mm or 2mm foam adhesive that I pull from scrapbook.com. I love the way that the end result turns out by having these different layers on these buildings. Over on the far left hand side is an 8x10, and I did use Canva to create that template. I was able to get 11 photos on that 8x10, and I wanted to do that collage because these photos were pulled from the internet, so they weren't the best quality, and they were all different sizes. The sketch calls for 2 4x4 photos on the bottom, and I decided to use Walt's window as well as Roy's window as my 4x4 so that I could really showcase those particular windows. I also pulled out the banner as well as the clouds to complete my scene at the top on the right hand side of the layout. As I'm getting the pictures down, I did want to talk a little bit about some fun things that are happening over at Kellybell Designs this weekend. The entire store is 45% off. So this is a great time to pick up any of the collections that you might have been eyeing recently. There is also a grab bag that is $7. Like I said, this particular collection was a part of the grab bag in 2023. The grab bag for $7 includes 7 products, and that is the mini kit, the word flare, the page starters, the word art, journal cards, snippets, and 2 quick pages. There's going to be lots of games and other fun activities that are going on in the Facebook group. You have a chance to win a prize for the scavenger hunt and the word scramble. But here's what I think is the most amazing part of it. There is a participation prize just for playing along. And the participation prize is going to coordinate with the grab bag. Also, if you purchase something from the website on Saturday or Sunday, so that is May 3rd and 4th of 2025, you will get a free add-on that also coordinates with the grab bag. So if you were to pick up the grab bag on Saturday or Sunday, participate in the scavenger hunt and the word scramble, the amount of digital collections that you're going to get for $7 is phenomenal. I will have a layout posted on Monday using this collection, and I can tell you that it is an amazing collection. A little sneak peek of the grab bag is already posted in Kellybell's Facebook group. And one last thing, there is going to be a Facebook freebie that will be posted today over in the Kellybell Designs Facebook group. So head over there and check out all the fun activities that are going on this weekend. You definitely do not want to miss out on them. I'm so excited that Kellybell Designs is offering such an amazing scrapbook day sale this weekend. All right, so let's get back to the layout. I decided that I was going to mount the photos on the right-hand side of the layout on cream cardstock, as well as the two 2x3 photos that are on the left-hand side. There is so much going on in this layout, and honestly, when I finished the layout, I couldn't really tell the difference between the photos and the digital collection that I added. I love the scene that I created using this digital collection, and it just fits so perfectly with the photos of the windows. You guys know it wouldn't be a layout of mine if I didn't have to pull something up. The 8x10 photo was too far to the left, so I had to pull it up, and I decided to go ahead and put the two photos down first before I put the 8x10 back down, because I definitely wanted to have the two photos overlapping the 8x10. I spent a significant amount of time measuring out to make sure that the papers were the same size, and once I got them down, they were not. I was so frustrated with it, but I just pulled out the same cardstock, tried to measure it up again, using the right-hand side photos to make the measurements, and then I decided that I would just go ahead and add down those two smaller photos. I think the issue before was that I measured them out against the photos as opposed to the paper itself, and the difference was just enough that it was very noticeable. But once I got the paper trimmed out, I was able to get the photos back down, and I did pull out my layering guides to trim down the sides. Now, I did pull all of these photos from the internet. I actually pulled them from two different blogs, and they go into great detail about what each one of the signs represent. What I decided to do was I created a short video with all of the details because I knew that I was not going to be able to get all of that journaling on this layout. I am going to have a QR code on my layout, but at the end of the video, there will be a link to the video that I created with all the details. So if you want to go and read about all of these different windows and the signage and what the signage means, make sure you check out that video at the end. Each one of the windows represents somebody who has a great impact on either Walt's life or on Disney World itself. Once I got all of the photos down, then I started to work on my scene that's going to be on the top right-hand side of the layout. I first started out with this building here that has the awning, and I do decide to put two of the backings behind it, and I wanted this one to stand out the most, so after I put the two backings down, I did go ahead and use some fun foam, so it sticks out the most. I'm going to use a purple building to go behind this one, but it's also going to be cut in half between the two layouts. So I decided to put some adhesive on the back of the purple building and then laid it down with the building that had the awning on top of it so that I could make sure that it was in the right place. I'm then going to turn the layout over and using my X-Acto knife, trim down the purple building. I had to pull out my cutting mat to make sure that I didn't cut my background mat. But I finally got it down, and once I did, I went ahead and added the liquid adhesive to the first building and added that one down. The purple building is flat to the layout with no backing. The next building that I put down, I am actually going to add two pieces of paper to the backing of it, and I actually put the liquid adhesive on the wrong side, so I had to pull that up, but I do get that down, and I'm going to have it overlap the purple building just a little bit. Then I'm going to add the orange or coral color building flat to the layout, and it's going to go behind that longer building. For the pink building, I went ahead and added one piece of paper behind it. And then for my last building, I added 2 pieces of paper behind. So it really does give each one of those buildings different dimension. And what I did in the Silhouette Studio was I designed it and had it all printed out. I do have some tutorials for that. I will link them below for you if you would like to check out that playlist. Once I got all of the images ready to print out and send to the Silhouette, I then removed all of the images and reprinted the same piece of paper. I did add some wording to the bottom of it just so I knew which one to send to the Silhouette. And I was able to print out 2 sets of the paper with no printing on it. So they were just plain white cardstock. Of course, for the top layer, I did use some presentation paper because that is my preferred paper. I do have a review of the paper that I use and I will link it below for you guys. And then for the 2 backings, I just used some regular cardstock. The sketch called for some stitching around the outside edge. It actually called for another piece of pattern paper as well, but because my layout was so busy, I decided to forego the pattern paper and just do the stitching. I started out with the stitching a little while ago on my video, but then realized that I needed to get my buildings down before I continued with the stitching. So once I got the buildings down, then I went ahead and poked all of my holes so that I have a outside border around the entire layout. And then I'm going to do some tone on tone stitching with this blue thread. And I will tell you that a lot of the stitching gets covered up with my clouds, but I'm okay with that because I like the fact that the stitching is kind of behind the clouds and poking through. I did slow the video down here so that you can see the detail of the stitching that I added. I did have to pull up my tree that's over there on the far left to add my stitching down, but then I went ahead and re-added it back down. I also decided to add a clock as well as a lamp post from the collection. And then my title is going to be Bring on the Magic, because I absolutely believe that the little details that are a part of Magic Kingdom and all of the Walt Disney World parks are so magical. Back in 2020, we did the Keys to the Kingdom tour, and I will tell you that that tour was so amazing. I loved hearing all of the history and the behind the scene things for Magic Kingdom. I really wanted to make this second tree work, but my layout is just so busy and I felt like I was covering up either the windows or the buildings too much with that second tree. So I only end up with 1 tree. I also pulled the banner from the collection and added it to the top. I originally thought that I would add the banner connecting 2 of the buildings and then have just an open scene of things like a bench and other things that you would see on Main Street, but those weren't a part of the collection, so I just stuck with the buildings themselves. And I will tell you that you guys know this about me if you follow my channel at all, that I tend to make my embellishments really big, and those clouds are huge, but I just love them so much. And I thought about reprinting them and making them a little bit smaller. Even though I did scale them all in the Silhouette Studio, they still turned out a little big. But I'm okay with it. I'm just going with it. I'm going to have really big clouds and I feel like they're just bright and cheery and they add so much contrast to that dark blue that I decided to use for my background paper. I added some flat to the layout and then I did use the same technique of adding some of the backing. Some had 1 piece of backing, some had 2, and I also used some foam adhesive on some of them. And it just gives it so much dimension. When I was doing the research for these particular windows, as well as making that video of all the details, I think the most interesting thing that I found was the fact that Walt Disney has 2 windows. His first window is actually looking out onto the castle because Roy wanted him to have the best view, which is of the castle. And his second window is over the train station because Walt was definitely a train enthusiast. And I think that that type of detail of not only the fact that Walt had 2 windows, the detail that went into where the windows were placed. I am 100% a Disney adult and things like that just makes my heart happy. I didn't add a whole lot of other embellishments to this layout. I did add 2 little tags Down at the bottom, it says paved with memories. And then over on the far right-hand side, I did add streets of dreams. And then I pulled out my color boxes in red and yellow, as well as my wood veneer. And I just added a few stars around the layout. And then, of course, you know, I can't get away without adding a Mickey head. There is a Mickey head printed on the banner, but I thought an additional Mickey head on top of that banner just added a little extra touch. When I went to go do my journaling and create that video, I realized that 2 of the pictures were of the same window. I decided to go ahead and take one of them up and just make my journaling a little bit larger. I did print my journaling on a 3x4 text box in Word and printed it out, and then added it to the space that's between Roy Disney and Walt Disney's windows. And then I added the QR code for the video of the details of the windows. I had a little bit of space down below my journaling, so I started to look through my wood veneer to see if I could add something. I really liked that little banner that had the heart cut out, but it was a little too long. I thought about adding a camera, but I really wasn't liking that. I do have one box that has a bunch of different words in it, and I found the word imagine, which I think is just perfect for a Disney layout. So I went ahead and added that. And then I decided to add just one more Mickey head because I felt like it just tied in the word imagine. And then that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. My journaling says, next time you stroll down Main Street, USA, don't forget to look up. Tucked above the stores and facades are some truly magical windows. Each one a tribute to the dreamers, doers, and Disney legends who helped build the magic. These windows celebrate those hidden gems. Want to know the stories behind the names? Just scan the QR code to discover the secrets sprinkled in the windows above the magic. Make sure you go check out Kellybell Designs this weekend for all of the amazing things that are going on for National Scrapbook Day weekend. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.